What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiance Season 11, Episode 14, All's Fair in Love and War. Let's talk about Maddie and Stevie. So, Stevie and Maddie are having a joint bachelor and bachelorette parties. There's other couples also who are having joint bachelor and bachelorette parties, and I'm wondering if it's because TLC can't afford to give them their own individual parties or they just don't want to. Like, I'm not understanding why we're combining the bachelor and bachelorette parties all in one. But anyway, so they go to a burlesque show and Marty is already feeling a little bit apprehensive because before they came to the show, he was asking Stevie, are there going to be nude ladies? Like, what do I have to expect? And Stevie was like, I don't know how nude they're going to be, if they're going to get nude at all. So they go to the burlesque show. Marty's cousin is with them. And also Stevie's friend Claire is with them. And the reason why I'm pointing this out is because Claire is the friend that has suggested incorporating a nude painting that Stevie had drawn of her into her wedding, into Stevie and Maddie's wedding. Now, I thought the girl was joking when she said, hey, why don't you incorporate some of yourself into the wedding? And Stevie was like, what do you mean? Like what? And Claire said, like your paintings, for example, the nude painting that you did of me. Incorporate that into your wedding. I thought the girl was joking, but I don't know if she was serious or what, but I don't know. But she's the one that has suggested that. And of course, Maddie's cousin is there, and he's the one that is looking at Stevie with a side eye because it seems like he wants to sabotage Maddie and Stevie's relationship because he's like somewhat convinced that Stevie is definitely bisexual and he doesn't understand why Maddie wants to go through with this. So they're all at this burlesque show. Maddie had told, okay, so, and also, of course, obviously, Maddie had confided in his cousin about um, his beliefs that possibly um, Stevie might be bisexual. So the performance begins. The performers are on stage. They start the show. And when the clothes came off, Maddie's cousin covered his face when the girls started to undress on stage. So he covers his face, but not for long. Okay. He did watch all of the show. He covered his face for like a hot second. And then when one of the girls began to twirl her nipple tassels, you could tell that Maddie was visibly uncomfortable with that. At some point, Maddie walked out of the show completely. Now, before the show started, before they even came to the venue, Stevie had told Maddie that if you feel uncomfortable at any point, just let me know and we can both get up and walk out together. But Maddie didn't do that. So when the tassel started twirling, that's when Maddie got up and left. I thought he was going to like go outside, get some fresh air, and then come back in. But no, he never came back. So okay, so after the show, Marty tells his cousin that he really didn't like it. He didn't like the show at all. The cousin says that it was a very stupid idea to take Marty to such a place. This is where I get really confused about Marty because I really thought that Marty was open-minded. I thought he was open-minded. The reason why I'm laughing is because there's this TikTok account. I think the name of the content creator is Sean Solo, and he's this Korean guy. I think he's a Korean comedian, and he talks about how he does these imitations of Korean men from this district called Hongdae. And one of the things that the Hongdae men do when they approach a foreign woman is they'll ask her, "Are you open-minded?" So, anyways, I thought that Mahdi was open minded. I thought he was more Western thinking than, I guess, what we would consider your average, typical Middle Eastern man or whatever. So, the fact that he was like so offended by the show and I'm just kind of confused. I'm not saying that he should not be offended by this. If it's not his jive, it's just not his jive. But at other times, like he seems to be like, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that they're having premarital sex. I don't know if he drinks. Um, so I'm just a little bit confused on where he stands on morality and where he stands on certain things. I'm very confused. So he says that he didn't like it. But before, remember, he was really excited about coming to Sin City. He was so gung ho about coming to Sin City. So the cousin says it was a stupid idea to bring Marty to the show. After that, everybody goes out for drinks. The cousin suggests to both Stevie and Marty that maybe they should postpone their wedding. And I guess what the cousin was implying was that they need more time to get to know each other. Right now, Marty has been in the United States for about 30 days or almost approaching 30 days or something. And so they had to move their wedding date up because Marty had told Stevie that it's going to cost him more to complete his immigration process the longer they wait to that 90-day mark. So if they're able to get married sooner, it won't cost them as much. It's going to be cost effective to get married sooner. So the cousin suggests, well, why don't you postpone your wedding? I mean, he's only been here 30 days. You actually have 2 whole months left. So why don't you postpone it? And Stevie, without even looking at the cousin, because Stevie already is sensing the negative vibes coming from the cousin. And she doesn't understand why the cousin is being so judgmental towards her. But it's because of the information that Marty fed him, about his concerns about her being bisexual and, him trapping him in this marriage and then telling him after they're married that she could possibly be bisexual. So they were conjuring up all of these weird ideas about Stevie. And Stevie could sense that that the cousin was a little bit judgy towards her. So she wasn't paying him any dust. So she was like, as she was answering the cousin, she was actually looking at everybody but the cousin. So Stevie was like, no, we're good. We're good with, whatever date that we have set and getting married sooner than later. We're fine. And Marty then, out of nowhere, apologizes to Stevie's friend Claire. And he tells her, that day that you had suggested us incorporating your nude portrait that Stevie had painted of you, when you had suggested incorporating that into our wedding, my response wasn't the best. My reaction wasn't the best. And so I do apologize about how I reacted to that idea. So Claire was like, okay, no worries. I accept your apology. No big deal. So the cousin was like, why are you apologizing for that? And Marty said, well, I feel like I have to apologize because I made a promise to Stevie's father that I would not impose my Iranian beliefs on her. And the cousin was actually shocked. And then Marty thanked everybody for having a wonderful night, even though he was clearly uncomfortable at the burlesque show to the point where he walked out of it. He thanked everybody for having a wonderful night. And the cousin tells us in his confessional that Marty is culturally overwhelmed, that he can't even think straight. So, like, the cousin didn't understand why he was showing so much grace to these people. The cousin even goes on to say that Marty needs to know the truth and that Stevie might actually be bisexual. So the cousin is really going to be pushing this idea, this notion, and trying to convince, because Marty is not really sure. He's not getting any clear answers from Stevie. So I guess the cousin, his plan is to tip him over to the other side to believe that Stevie might actually be bisexual. I don't know. This whole entire scene to me was very weird. It was more complex than it needed to be. I'm not sure why Marty didn't tell Stevie when he was uncomfortable at the burlesque show that, he was uncomfortable so that they could have gotten up and left together. I don't understand why Marty all of a sudden switched and felt like he had to apologize to Claire. I don't remember his reaction being that bad when she had brought that up when they were at the venue, at the wedding venue, and she had brought, incorporating that painting into the. I don't remember Marty giving an extremely negative reaction. So I was like, just trying to understand, like, where was all this? Maybe he just wants to make peace because his wedding day is approaching. He doesn't want any hard feelings, doesn't want any negativity. He just wants everything to be smooth and everybody to get along and everything to be peaceful, which is great. If that's his idea, then I'm all for it. But I hope that now he's going to let go this whole thing about Stevie possibly being bisexual. I hope he's going to let that go. I don't know what else to say. Either you're going to marry her or you're not. And you want to marry her, right? So let it go. I don't know. I don't know what to say because Stevie refuses to give him a straight answer. I thought she did when they took a walk in last week's episode, and he told her, "Hey, I have something to ask you," and then she cut him off and said, "I know what you're going to ask me," and the answer is no. I'm not bisexual. So I thought she gave him an answer, but I don't know why this is still an issue for him. I really do believe that this whole entire thing is just trumped up for a storyline because it's just not making any sense. Y'all are about to get married and you're still confused about your wife, your soon to be wife's sexuality. I don't understand. I don't, let's just move on because it's giving me a headache. Sean and Aaliyah. So they go to the beach and they talk about Aaliyah's transition journey. And Aaliyah tells Sean that she's considering hormone therapy and facial feminization. So Aaliyah, her forehead right here, or her brow, I guess like the entire brow area, is a little bit too masculine for her. So they can shave down the bone here, I guess, to give it a more feminine appearance. And that's going to require, obviously, surgery. So Sean was like, with the facial surgery, that's where my concern lies because when they do that, you're going to be left with this really nasty scar that's going to go like, I guess, like across her forehead where they do the incision or where they actually cut, and your hairline is going to be, not your hairline, but the way your hair is going to grow around the scar is going to be all jacked up. And Aaliyah was like, "Oh, I'm not really worried about that." And then Sean says, "Well, I've had clients who've had brow lifts, and that scar is really prominent, and the hair either doesn't grow around that area or grows really funky around that area. So yeah, you need to consider that." And Aaliyah says, "Well, your clients had those type of brow lifts a long time ago, as in now in the modern age, they have better ways of doing such surgeries. I don't know." So those are the things that Aaliyah is considering, and Aaliyah is willing to take the risk. So then Sean tells Aaliyah that he feels really left out in her journey because she's doing all of this research on her own. She's not telling him, she's not keeping him up to date with what she is considering, what she wants to do, what she wants to get done, who she's been talking to. Like the doctor's appointment that they went to, he had no idea about that doctor's appointment to the very last minute. And then he decided to tag along with her. And so he says he feels really left out. And I don't understand. I'm thinking that maybe Aaliyah is not keeping him up to date, not giving him a minute by minute update because she knows he doesn't like it. She knows that he's not gung ho about this process at all. So in order to keep the peace, she's going to keep it to herself. But then again, I always wonder how is she going to fund these operations, these surgeries, the hormone therapy? How is she going to fund all of this? So if she's expecting him to pay for it, I'm assuming she would want to keep him up to date of everything. But unless maybe she has her own money, her own stash that she's been saving to pay for all of this on her own. So because we know she's not getting any money from the show. So he tells her that he doesn't think that their marriage would survive if Aaliyah goes through gender reassignment surgery. So now they're at a crossroads. Now it is out there in the open. He's told her exactly how he feels. I'm not sure if we have a future if you go through with the entire process, including gender reassignment surgery. And so they have a lot to think about. I'm assuming, they're at the crossroads now. It's either we're gonna get through this together or we're not. I don't know what else to say about Sean and Aaliyah other than that. And I totally understand where Sean is coming from. Between the two of them, obviously, I think both of them are good people. Neither one of them is, being bad or mean or anything like that. I like them both. But I do sympathize with Sean a little bit more because he signed up to be in a homosexual relationship. That is what he signed up for. When he met Aaliyah as Douglas, he fell in love with Douglas. Now he has to deal with Aaliyah and he's confused. And he's like, I don't know how I feel about this because this is not the person that I fell in love with. I also somewhat sympathize with Aaliyah because she has to live her life. She has to live in a way that she's comfortable with. She has to live in a way that she feels like she's her true, authentic self. So my advice to these people would be just to break up. Go y'all separate ways. You want Douglas, you want to be Aaliyah, just break up. Okay? People have broken up for lesser reasons. Just, move on. I understand there's love there, there's history there, but it's time for them, I think, to just move on. I don't know. Matt, Amani, and Ani. So we're at the part where Amani and Matt have met up with one of Ani's ex-boyfriends, who goes by the name of Ray. And Ray has spilled all the tea on Ani, including the fact that her real name is Brenda and that she's still married. And so completely threw under the bus. I was wondering if maybe Ray was burned by Ani Brenda, like maybe she broke up with him or he realized that she was just using him or something, and this is his get back. He's like, well, I'm gonna tell your boyfriend or your girlfriend all your business because you broke my heart. That was a vibe that I was getting. That the reason why he was thrown under the bus like this is because he's trying to get back at her. So Ray has spilled all the tea on Ani Brenda, and they have called Ani Brenda to join them so they can face her and, get some answers from her. So she shows up. They call her by her government name, Brenda, and she was shocked. She was like, oh my God, I've been found out. So she tells them that her real name is Brenda Anahi. And because her name is Brenda Anahi, she just goes by Ani. They ask her why she couldn't tell them her real name. And then this is when the waterworks begin. I hate it when they get caught or they get backed up into a corner, they start the waterworks. They start crying, start getting all emotional because that's what women do. And this is a way for them to garner sympathy, or this is a way for them to take the heat off of themselves. Just start crying and act like you're this damsel in distress. You're this, weak little girl, and, please be gentle with me because I'm so emotional right now. I really hate that. I want you to talk, talk with your chest. Tell them exactly what's going on here. Stop with the whole little girl act and the fake tears. So she starts crying and she was like, y'all were always just so angry, and I just never really had the opportunity or the chance or the time to tell y'all because y'all were just so mad at me because I didn't tell my family about y'all and this, that, and the third. And this is the reason why I was just so scared. I was scared to tell y'all. Girl, please. So she puts the blame on them. If y'all weren't these big, angry ogres, I would have told y'all everything. But y'all were just coming to me with so much heat, and I was just so scared. I didn't want y'all to be even more angry with me. So, Ani Brenda turns to Ray because she's got some heat for Ray. She turns to Ray and she's like, so, no, I forgot. That was the first thing she did when she first came up there, was to blame Ray for telling all her business. So then when they asked her about, the name, why didn't you tell us? She starts crying, oh, y'all were so mad at me. And then they ask her, Amani asks her, are you still married? Then Ani Brenda turns to Ray again and says, you told them about that? And she says she's not married. Then they look at Ray and they're like, well, she said she's not married, so why did you say she was married? And then Ray is like, oh, I must have misunderstood. And then Amani was like, no, y'all speak the same language. Y'all both speak Spanish. So you understood clearly what she was saying. What do you mean you misunderstood? So that didn't go well. So because of the fact that he said he misunderstood and he was kind of like acting regretful about exposing Ani Brenda, Amani and Matt were like, wow, look how quickly Ray has turned. At first, he was willing to throw her under the bus, giving up all of her information. And now he's being sympathetic with her and siding with her. And it's like, oh, I must have misunderstood what my poor little baby was saying about whether or not she was married. If she says she's not married, then she's not married. Everyone at that point leaves. Ani Brenda is left by herself, and she tells us that the only thing that she lied about was her name, that she didn't lie about anything else. It was just her name, and that was it. Who the hell knows? You pick up a stripper from Tijuana and you think you know everything about her. Mark and Mina. Mina's sister has finally arrived for the upcoming wedding. So the first place that they go to is get Mina's wedding dress fitted. The dress was to me, it was a pretty dress, but it was very generic. We've seen these type of dresses a gazillion times. Okay. nothing really special about it. I love it when, because wedding, you can only do so much with wedding gowns, right? Because at some point, because you want to keep it traditional, you don't want to push the envelope way too much. So I love it when a wedding gown can wow us, because you can only do so much with a wedding gown when it comes to colors, when it comes to style, etc. You can only do so much. So when a wedding dress is designed in such a unique way that it can wow us, I love it. So her dress to me was very boring, very generic, but she did look nice in it. It was a pretty dress. So the sister gives her a pearl necklace, pearl earrings, and also gives her a necklace with a picture of their parents because their parents have passed away. So this is a way to keep them incorporated in the wedding. And so that was really, really sweet. After that, Mark comes to pick them up, and on their way back home, I'm assuming, the sister is bringing up life in New Hampshire because I guess Mina has told her sister that she doesn't like living in New Hampshire. She's over it. And so she wants to live in a more exciting city. It's really boring in New Hampshire, nothing but trees. And so the sister brings up to Mark, so is this it for y'all living in New Hampshire? You're not going to move to Boston or anything like that? And he was like, no, I enjoy living here. He's by the airport because he has his own plane, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm just thinking to myself, what is wrong with living in New Hampshire? What is so bad about it? Um, he has a plane, so y'all can literally go anywhere y'all want. You can go to Miami for the weekend. I don't know if it's worth taking a plane to New York. You can definitely, you can still go to up north. It's not like where I live. I live in like one of the biggest states in the United States. Getting from one end of the city to the other is a journey in itself. You got to pack a lunch and all that. Just going from one end of the city to the other, literally, it could take you like a couple of hours. But up north, where the states are a lot smaller and clustered together, it ain't nothing to live in New Hampshire and then go to Boston, go to New York, go to all these other cities, more exciting cities. So, like, yes, you live in New Hampshire, but you can still experience city life because everything is so close together. And your dude has a plane. Okay, he can fly you anywhere you want. You want to go to LA, you want to go to Chicago, he can do it at the drop of a dime. So I was thinking to myself, and I don't want to be too mean, but is Mina kind of like a brat? I don't know. Is she a brat? Because like, what are you still complaining about? He's willing to let's look at all the things that Mark is willing to do for Mina. Okay, he brings her to the US. Not that much of a flex because she comes from Paris. So, a lot of people dream to go visit or live in Paris. So that's not really a flex. But he brings her to the US from Paris. He's got a private plane. He can take her anywhere she wants. They live in a decent house. It's a nice house, compared to what we've seen on this show. For example, when Sophie came to LA, Rob was living practically like in a shed or a shack practically, where she had to go use the bathroom in an outhouse. Okay. Poor Juan is complaining about living in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming. Nothing but cows are around him. So you have a decent house. She doesn't have to work. I don't know if she's gonna have to get a job later once she gets like if she's gonna get a once she gets her work permit, or if she's gonna be able to stay home and just worry about raising her daughter. I don't know. And he's willing to adopt her son, no questions asked. So I'm like, girl, what are you complaining about? Why is it so bad in New Hampshire? Anywho, it's time to sign the prenup. They're back at the house. Sister goes to bed, and it's time to sign the prenup. And her only request was that she would sign the prenup if he adopted her son, Clayton. And so he was like, I was going to do that anyway. He tells us, I don't even think it's necessary to put it in our prenup because I have always planned to adopt Clayton. But they do write it in. There's a section of the prenup where he can actually write in we can actually write in an addendum or an extra clause or whatever. And he writes that in that this prenup is whatever effective dependent on him adopting Clayton. And so they both sign it and they're both happy. I wanted to see what else was in the damn prenup. I wanted them to explain paragraph by paragraph what else is in that damn prenup. Like, what does she lose if this marriage ends? Can she only leave the marriage with what she came in with, which isn't much? Or after a certain period, after they've been married so many years, Does she get some type of monetary compensation? I wanted to know the details of that prenup, but that's neither here nor there. Sharper and Shekinah. Y'all know I don't have the energy for Sharper and Shekinah because I think these people their relationship might be real. They might really be in love with one another, but I think that their goal is to become like TV stars, reality stars or something. That's their goal. They want to be in the limelight because so far, Sharper and Shekinah have not impressed me. This season, their storyline to me is extremely boring. I don't care about Dapper Dan. Dapper Dan is a non-issue. In the words of Evelyn Lozado, he's a non-factor. Okay? He's a non-factor. So I don't know why we're spending so much camera time with Dapper Dan. Dapper Dan. Sarper reaches out to Dapper Dan and wants to meet up with him because Shekinah's making a big deal about how Sarper constantly picking on Dan is affecting her friend group. So he decides to go ahead and try to make amends with Dan. So he goes over to Dan's house, and Dan lives in a really big house. It kind of looks like a castle. It's like designed or modeled after a castle, kind of. It's like a mansion, I guess. I don't know. So when Sarper gets there, he wants to get down to business. He wants to come there and like, let's just start talking about what we need to talk about. And Dan is like, no, let me give you a tour because he wants to flex on Sarper. It's like, I want to show you exactly, how much money I really have and why I think I'm a threat to you. So I don't know I guess he gave him the tour. Who cares? They get to talking, and Dan says a lot of slick stuff to Sarper when nobody's around. And so this is the reason why Shekinah and everybody else doesn't understand why Sarper has it out for Dan. Because Dan will say a lot of slick stuff, try to get under Sarper's skin when nobody's around. And when Sarper reacts, everybody's like, oh my God, why are you so mean to him? Why are you so mean to him? Poor Dan, he's such a victim of your meanness. And nobody gets it because when there's an audience, he's like sweet and innocent and, a little angel. But then as soon as everybody turns their head, he's attacking Sarper. So he said to Sarper, he was like alluding that maybe there was more between him and Shekinah than just a kiss, because Shekinah tells Sarper that when she dated Dan, all they did was kiss. It didn't go any further than that. But Dan was like hinting at it. Well, it could have gone further than that. I probably did have your woman, but you'll never know. And then he also talks about, what else did he say? He tells Sarper that, oh, I think you're jealous of me. So he says all these things to get Sarper riled up, but Sarper did a good job in staying cool, calm, and collected and in control of himself. And so he was basically Sarper was actually talking sense, if I can remember correctly, because I kind of was like, dozing in and out. I think Sarper was talking sense. He was like, look, let's just try to squash the beef and just try to get along. We don't have to be best friends. We don't have to be brothers or anything like that. But let's just keep it civil and cute for the sake of Shekinah. I think that's what Sarper was trying to say. And so they reached an agreement and they shook hands. That's all I got to say about that. Greg and Joan. So Greg is his first day at work. They send him off to work. And then for the rest of the day, Joan wanted to go to the tailor to get her wedding gown altered. So she asked Lucille, her soon-to-be mother-in-law, can you take me to the tailor? And she was like, oh, sure, let's go. So they get there, and on their way there, I say they get there, and then I say on their way there. On their way there, Lucille asks Joan if she's going to need help with her dress. And Joan was like, no, actually, no. In fact, I'm going to have my family on FaceTime, and I want my family to be the first people to see my dress, so I don't need any help. And so Joan felt kind of hurt by that. She wanted to be a part of the process, and it's a way for them to bond. And did I say Joan felt bad about that? Lucille felt bad about that. And Lucille, as she's telling us how hurt she feels that Joan doesn't want her to be part of the process, Lucille tells us there's always payback. And I was like, what do you mean by that, Lucille? What do you mean? You're going to exact revenge on your future daughter-in-law because she didn't need your help at the tailor's? That doesn't make any sense. So she's there at the tailor. She puts on her dress. Her dress was, it fit her really good. Okay, I will say that. The bodice of it fit her good because she wanted the dress to be tight. She wanted to show off her curves, and she does got curves. I'm just not a big fan of mesh. I didn't like all the mesh up top, but whatever. It's not my dress. No one's asking for my opinion. So she's FaceTiming her family, her sisters, I think her mother too. They see her dress. It's beautiful. Then it gets really emotional because they talk about how the family will not be able to physically be present at her wedding because the time that it's going to take to process the visas is just going to be, they're not going to have enough time before the wedding. So they won't be able to be there physically. Everybody's crying. Joan is like, I really want my family to be a part of this because, it's going to be Greg, his family, his friends. And so she wants somebody from her side to be there as well. So they got really emotional about it, but y'all, they'll be fine. This was a boring episode. It was very grueling, to sit there and try to pay attention to this for 2 whole hours. But I made it. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.